Hey everybody, how's it going? Sorry for this incredibly bright light behind me, but that's what we're dealing with this video, so hopefully that's okay. Anyways, I recently read this book called Negative Space by B.R. Yeager on my Kindle, so here's the cover. It's a kind of terrifying looking cover, right? Pretty accurate for this book. I'm going to try to make this brief and certainly spoiler free. This was a horror novel. I would call it a postmodern horror novel. It felt very postmodern to me. It kind of reminded me, from a writing standpoint, of some of Bret Easton Ellis's stuff, like American Psycho. It's kind of this sort of strange literary horror that's its own kind of thing. It reminded me quite a bit of that. It's about these four characters, and they live in this shithole, like rundown, rotten, falling apart town. Everybody is in despair. It's very bleak. It's a very nihilistic book. And there is a suicide epidemic happening in this town. And the book basically takes us through these four teenage characters, one of which we're not ever in the point of view of. The other three characters, we are always in their point of view at some point within a chapter. And the thing that's interesting is, point of view novels are, we've seen them before. But this novel, it's told through the first person, so we can be within a scene, and it will switch to another character's point of view in the first person. So we're jumping around in this book feeling like we're in the character's lens, basically. And that's pretty unique, at least for me. I've never read a book that has been told that way. So it's a really, really interesting story. The kids are basically addicted to this drug called Whorl. That's Whorl, like the word whirl. And it's this crazy fucking drug that makes you see black strings coming out of people's faces and stuff. It's very bizarre. And basically, I don't want to say much more than that it's kind of like a sort of extremely twisted coming-of-age novel in some ways, about these kids in this horrible town with a suicide epidemic and this crazy drug and some other crazy things that get thrown in. And you follow these four characters, but these three perspectives, and everything happens in an extremely hallucinogenic, terrifying nightmare sort of way. The story is told in a way, almost a plotless kind of way in some respects. I wouldn't call this book plotless because it's incredibly readable. You want to feel compelled to keep reading it, even though A, it's extremely depressing and sad and disturbing, and B, it doesn't really have like a narrative hook per se, and yet Yeager somehow is able to tell a story that you want to keep reading. And this bizarre imagery that you are going to see in this book, again, I'm not going to let you know anything, but it's oftentimes it's the kind of book that leaves you a lot to think about. And what I'm basically trying to say is that I don't think this is a book for people that like a plot-heavy book. This is a character study and a huge theme study. The themes in this book are written, to me, were written vaguely, but not so vaguely to where it feels like the author didn't really know what the hell, like he was just throwing random imagery out just to catch your attention. It feels like it's meticulously plotted, but you never really have a true sense of what's going on. So that I don't think is going to appeal to certain people that want like a narrative-driven horror story. This is not that. The horror in this is in the tragic circumstances of the characters and in just some of the freakiness of what happens and the, like I said, nightmare feeling of this entire book. Like I said, it reminded me of Bret Easton Ellis's writing. I would consider this transgressive fiction in the way it uses extremely disturbing subject matter to tackle a specific theme. So there's that aspect. I feel like it's a little darker than your average like dark horror novel. This is pretty strong content in here, but just incredibly well written. Just amazing writing. The prose is wonderful. You get very real. I guess realistic isn't a good way to describe this book because of the dreamlike nature to it, but incredibly realistic teenage characters that are kind of raw, that you don't really see too often, and so realistic dialogue, but just then bouts of beautiful prose with sorts of like you would call it like beautiful nightmarish prose, because he's writing about such terrible and strange and like unknowable things, but he's writing about it in a very beautiful way. Kind of reminds me of like from what I've read of Thomas Ligotti, even at times, just sort of stream of consciousness. The whole book is not really stream of consciousness really written per se, but there are some parts that are. So anyways, I'm just kind of rambling and just saying random ass words at this point, I feel. I think you get an idea of if this is for you or not. I think it's for a very specific group of people. Like it's definitely a tough read. That's not going to have like a sort of satisfying narrative conclusion or anything. But it's one that will leave you continuously thinking. And I don't know. I think you should give it a shot though. If you can read content that can be really disturbing, but you're not sure if you'd want to read a book that isn't driven by a narrative, I think I would just try this one out. It's very good. This guy's also written a book called Amygdalatropolis, which I have not read, but I've heard, again, mixed things about, but having really, honestly, like, this is a 5-star read to me. This was a complete surprise of a read. It was excellent. I would definitely check out his other book, and I believe he now has a short story collection out. So, yeah. Anyways, hope this was helpful in some way. There's a lot of reviews on this book in text format and video format, and I see a lot of people try to like make sense of the plot, and I don't know. It doesn't seem like that kind of book to me. Don't feel like this book is completely incomprehensible or anything. I think it's a fun little like weird puzzle going on there. But yeah, just so you know. Anyways, that's all. Peace out. I hope you have a great day. I'll be back. I'm currently reading Hot Pink by Adam Levin, who wrote The Instructions and Bubblegum, which I read last year. So yeah, I'll let you know what I think of that one. Anyways, peace out, everybody. Have a great day.